His fiancée tried to punish the wrong new maid, not knowing she was a ruthless fighter. The mansion kitchen went dead silent the moment Sarah grabbed the tray out of Grace's hands and threw it across the marble floor. "Clean this up. Now," Sarah said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Grace didn't flinch. She knelt down, picked up every broken piece one by one, and said nothing. But what Sarah didn't know was that the quiet woman kneeling in front of her had once broken bones for a living. She had walked into cages that scared grown men. She had survived things Sarah couldn't begin to imagine. Sarah thought she was punishing a helpless maid. She had no idea who she was really dealing with. Grace Bennett was 34 years old, and 6 months earlier, her life had looked completely different. She used to wake up before sunrise to train, to run 5 miles before most people finished their coffee. She used to hear crowds chanting her name. Then her father got sick. The medical bills came faster than the paychecks. So Grace hung up her gloves, packed one suitcase, and took the first job she could find, housekeeper at the Hartwell estate. Michael Hartwell was 34 too, a self-made billionaire who'd built his company from a garage and never forgot what hard work felt like. He treated his staff with respect. He remembered their birthdays. He was the kind of boss people stayed loyal to for years. His fiancée, Sarah, was different. 30 years old, raised in wealth, used to snapping her fingers and watching people scramble. From the very first day, something about Grace unsettled her. It wasn't anything Grace said. It was the way she carried herself, calm, steady, unshaken. Sarah didn't like people she couldn't rattle. But she was about to try anyway. At first it was small things. Sarah blamed Grace for a missing necklace that turned up in her own drawer a week later. She made Grace re-iron the same shirt 4 times, insisting each attempt was wrong. She had Grace serve dinner, then sent the plate back twice, claiming it was cold. Michael's mother, Eleanor, noticed. She was 71 years old and missed very little. "That girl works harder than anyone I've ever seen," Eleanor told her son quietly one evening. "And Sarah treats her like she's invisible." Michael brushed it off. He was buried in a merger, distracted, trusting that Sarah wouldn't cross any real lines. But Eleanor kept watching. And so did someone else, Michael's 8-year-old niece, Olivia, who had taken a quiet liking to Grace. Olivia noticed the bruise Grace tried to hide on her wrist one morning, the kind that comes from catching yourself before a fall. She noticed Grace never complained. Not once. Then, one afternoon, something happened that Sarah never expected. A security guard, new to the estate, made an offhand comment to another staff member. He said Grace's movements reminded him of something he'd seen once: fast, precise, controlled. Like someone trained to fight, not just to clean. Nobody paid it much attention. Not yet. Sarah, meanwhile, had bigger plans. The engagement party was 2 weeks away, and she wanted everything, and everyone, exactly where she wanted them. Grace was not part of that picture. "She embarrasses this house," Sarah told her assistant one night. "I want her gone before the party. And I want it to look like her fault." What Sarah didn't know was that the ground beneath her plan was about to crack. The night of the engagement party arrived, glowing with candlelight and champagne. 200 guests filled the Hartwell estate, and Sarah wore a dress that cost more than most people's cars. Grace worked the event quietly, refilling glasses, staying out of sight. Sarah had one final plan to humiliate her in front of everyone. A staged accusation of theft, timed perfectly for maximum embarrassment. But before Sarah could set it in motion, a stranger grabbed Grace's arm in the hallway. "Hard. Where do you think you're going?" the man snapped. He was large, hired off the books, paid to create a scene that would justify firing Grace on the spot in front of every important guest in Sarah's circle. Grace's eyes changed. In one motion, she twisted free, stepped sideways, and had the man on the floor before a single champagne glass could shatter. It happened in under 3 seconds. Calm. Controlled. Silent. The room froze. Then a voice from the crowd broke the silence. "Wait, a man said, standing up from his table, phone half raised. I know that move. I know her. That's Grace the Storm Bennett. Gasps rippled through the room. The man was a sports journalist, invited as one of Sarah's connections. He explained, stunned, that Grace had once been a rising champion, undefeated for 3 years, before she vanished from the sport without explanation. She just disappeared, he said. Nobody knew why. Michael stepped forward, staring at Grace like he was seeing her for the very first time. Why didn't you tell me? He asked quietly. Grace looked down at the man still on the floor, then back at Michael. Because a job is a job, Mr. Hartwell. I didn't come here to be seen. I came here to take care of my father. Eleanor, standing near the staircase, hadn't moved. She had known something was different about this woman all along. Now she understood why. Security quickly confirmed what everyone suspected. The man Grace had disarmed was hired that same afternoon. Paid in cash. Paid by Sarah's assistant. Sarah's face went pale as every eye in the room turned toward her. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice shook. Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You tried to have someone hurt a member of my staff, in my home, in front of my guests, to make yourself look good, he said. Get your things. Tonight. The engagement was over before midnight. But the real story wasn't about Sarah's downfall. It was about what happened after. Michael found Grace in the kitchen an hour later, quietly stacking chairs like nothing had happened. You could have told me who you were, he said gently. Would it have mattered? Grace asked. I still would have been the maid. No, Michael said. You would have been someone I respected even more. You still are. He asked about her father. Grace's eyes filled, just slightly, as she told him about the surgery he still needed, the bills that never stopped coming, the reason she traded a championship belt for a mop and bucket without a single regret. By the next morning, Michael had already called the hospital. Her father's surgery was scheduled, fully covered, no conditions attached. Eleanor personally visited Grace's father and sat with him for 2 hours, telling him what a remarkable daughter he had raised. Olivia, the little girl who had noticed everything from the start, ran up to Grace a few days later with a homemade card. On the front, in crayon, she'd written, "You're my hero." Grace had to turn away so no one would see her cry. Word spread through the staff, then through the town. The woman who used to be underestimated, overlooked, and quietly mistreated was now something else entirely. A symbol that kindness and strength could live in the very same person, and that true character always finds its way to the surface, no matter how long it stays hidden. Grace didn't return to competitive fighting. Instead, Michael offered her something new, running a self-defense program for young women in the community, fully funded, named after her father as a tribute to the man who raised a fighter with a gentle heart. Michael and Grace's friendship grew slowly, honestly, built on respect instead of appearances. Nobody rushed it. Everyone who watched it happen agreed it was exactly how it should be. Sarah never returned to the estate. Some say she moved to another city, still searching for a way to matter without earning it. Grace never spoke about her again. She didn't need to. Her life had already moved forward. Sometimes the people we try to look down on are the very ones holding us up without us ever noticing. And sometimes, the smallest act of kindness becomes the greatest legacy of all. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness can change the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below.